Another section of your code that I'd like to highlight relates to conflict of interest, conflict of commitment, and nepotism. If you are involved in sponsored research, you are required to disclose conflicts under UVM's Financial Conflicts of Interest for Sponsored Research, or FCOI policy, and there are very specific requirements related to FCOI. Visit www.uvm.edu/OVPR/research-integrity for more information. Everyone else is required to disclose conflicts under UVM's Conflict of Interest, Conflict of Commitment policy. Either way, if you have a conflict, you are required to disclose it. A conflict of interest is when you or a member of your family has or could have a personal or financial interest that could affect your independent judgment as it relates to your university duties, or if you have a personal or financial interest that could result in personal gain or advancement at the expense of the university. And if you have a real or even a perceived conflict, it needs to be disclosed. Disclosing conflicts doesn't only protect the university, it also protects you. If you engage in external activities that interfere or could interfere with your ability to perform your university duties, you may have a conflict of commitment. And if you are in a position of power and could show favoritism or give preferential treatment to family members or to others that you are legally responsible for, that could give rise to nepotism. Conflicts of interest, conflicts of commitment, and familial relationships all need to be disclosed. Covered persons, which includes all faculty, all exempt staff, and others identified by the President, are required to disclose annually by submitting a conflict disclosure form. Covered persons are also required to update it if circumstances change during the year. But just because you're not required to submit an annual disclosure form does not mean that you do not have to disclose potential conflicts. Anyone who is not a covered person under the policy is required to disclose to their manager or supervisor as conflicts arise or as circumstances change. Just because you're not required to fill out an annual disclosure form, it does not mean that you don't have to disclose potential conflicts. Here are some examples of activities or circumstances that require disclosure. If you are in a position to make a decision to hire or promote a member of your family, you have a conflict that needs to be disclosed and managed. If you supervise, set salary or wages, if you approve time cards or employment records, or if you otherwise evaluate the job performance of a family member, you have a conflict that needs to be disclosed and managed. If you are responsible for negotiating or authorizing a contract, or if you otherwise purchase services, goods, or products from a family member, or a business owned by a family member, you have a conflict that needs to be disclosed and managed. Some conflicts are not necessarily prohibited, but they could be, and therefore also need to be disclosed. Here are a few examples. If you have a second job or provide services, such as consulting, while you're employed by UVM, this could create a conflict. If you hire other university employees or students that you oversee for non-UVM activities, you could have a conflict. If you hold a financial interest in a company or organization that competes with UVM, you could have a conflict. Again, disclosing conflicts does not mean that the arrangement is prohibited. It means that it likely needs to be managed, and disclosing it will protect both the interests of the university and will also protect you. As noted previously, if you are involved in sponsored research, you are required to disclose under UVM's FCOI policy.